All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Helldivers 2 and why is the community on fire? Why is everyone so upset? It's pretty straightforward, actually. Every single patch that's came out is pretty mid. It hasn't really had much content in it. There's been more buffs than nerfs, but the buffs haven't been that much of a big deal. All the nerfs have been quite a big deal. They've made things quite a lot worse for a lot of weapons. Railgun, no one ever uses it anymore. Flamethrower, it looks worse now. It visually looks worse. It feels worse. It does less damage. It doesn't penetrate through armor. The eruptor as well. It had this big shrapnel thing that used to kill whole waves of enemies. Now it doesn't do that anymore. And what is the point of patching the game at this point? Because every time you patch it, you make the game worse. You're just taking elements of the game out. And then the excuse that the Arrowhead makes is that, well, the usage rate was really high, or there was a bug there, or some nonsense about why this fun can't exist because they have something on their spreadsheet that says they shouldn't be allowed to do that. And at this point, they have to understand when you make a piece of content or make a game and you send it out into the world and people start playing it the way you didn't intend to, if they're having fun and you're selling the product, you should just let it slide, because these bosses, they're not getting, these Bile Titans, these Hulks, they're not getting one hit by these weapons that you're nerfing. People are just using it more because it's more fun, because that weapon's a well-designed weapon, and maybe you should celebrate that the weapon is being overused because it's just a really fun and cool weapon to use, and maybe you should make every weapon feel the same as that weapon. This whole thing of buff instead of nerf, in a PvE game, yeah, buff instead of nerf. What is the point of all this if not to make the game fun? And somehow people have got it mixed backwards, where buffing instead of nerfing is going to turn this game into some sort of power creep nonsense, like, an MMO where they have 1 trillion damage. That's not going to happen. It's pretty simple. It's not going to happen. Adding an extra mag isn't going to make the numbers of the weapons go from 100 damage per shot or 50, 60 damage per shot. It's not going to go to 1,000 because you said, can I have an extra 2 mags for this weapon? It's just not going to happen. That's just not, it's not the same. You're equating an MMO, you're going, oh, when I used to play World of Warcraft, I used to do 20 damage, now I do 2 million. So I don't want that in Helldivers, so please don't buff my weapons. What are you talking about, man? It's a completely different game. These people who are expressing their opinions, where they're equating it to Dark Souls or equating it to MMOs and World of Warcraft and all this nonsense, it's not the same thing. They're completely different planets, they're different spheres of existence. And the idea that, if I bet if they buffed the throwing knives, the game's just gonna fucking explode. What are you talking about, dude? It's a horde shooter. It's not even competitive. If one weapon becomes a little too strong after they patch it, I'm gonna cry. It's gonna hurt. Oh my god, what's gonna happen? It doesn't matter. If something's overused and you buff something else and it becomes the new meta weapon, who cares? It's fun. It's cool, I can use this really cool, really strong fire shotgun, or I can use this really powerful plasma gun. Both are very cool. Why would you try and make them both uncool to go down to the same level as the basic Liberator that is just bare bones, white bread, shoot some bullets and it hits the enemy, that's all that happens? If that's the baseline, then
can you remind me what I pay you people for? Honestly, throw me a bone here.
It seems to be another case of, there's a lot of game developers who don't play games, they just make them, and they have this thing they learn in university where, if you want to make a healthy ecosystem for all your weapons and all your upgrade systems, you need to make sure that it's perfectly balanced. And it's one of those things where it doesn't translate to reality, where all you need to do is make the game fun and people will play it. This isn't it. And that's what people are saying in reviews. This isn't it. And I think, as I mentioned, the big expansion of Escalation of Freedom, it added a bunch of enemies, added a bunch of stuff, but half of it's bugged out, doesn't work, and it came with a bunch of nerfs. It reworked the way fire works to a less fun variant where it just stops at the first thing it hits and doesn't really stick to it and takes longer to burn things.
Where you'd be sitting in a design review and somebody say, that's not realistic. And you're like, okay, what does that have to, explain to me why that's interesting.
It's why would you do this? Why would you spend the time working in your little office programming the game to be worse? You've just wasted a month of your life. Whoever sat there and changed the flame from A to B wasted their time. And who gave them the thumbs up to say, please make the weapons a little bit worse, please? So you guys built the weapons. People start using them because you built them well. And then you go, people are enjoying what I've made. I better make it worse to stop them from using it and use the new weapon I built. It's like, it's so bizarre. It just doesn't make any sense from a game design perspective. Is you've done a good job when the game released, and then you change it because it's too successful. That's why everyone's going so crazy right now. Because the game launched and it was almost too successful for its own good, because they're now like fighting the success. Every single opportunity they have to make it better, they are finding a way to make it worse. And it's bizarre.